At first glance, The Surge 2 is the dream game of my 13-year-old self. A very angry man runs around chopping off arms with spears or batting heads from necks with what looks like half a motorbike on a stick. God, teenage me would have loved this. Back in the mid-90s, games were starting to mess around with realistic body damage, things like Bushido Blade or Die by the Sword, so this stuff felt very cutting edge, pardon the pun. Of course, compared to trying to simulate a virtual sword arm in Die by the Sword, I mean, look at the state of this thing. The Surge makes chopping an absolute doddle. You just lock on and pick a body bit to trim off, whether that's with analog stick prodding on a controller or scrolling on the mouse wheel. It's all very slick and painless. Well, not for the guy losing his leg, but the aim of chopping is to treat enemies like walking shot catalogues. If you see something you want, be it a piece of armour or specific weapon, you target that piece and then whittle down its health before chopping it off with a finisher. I've played so much Surge 2 these last few days, I now see the whole world in these segmented terms. Which part of my cat do I want to stroke next? Which celebration to stick in my gob? It's never the disgusting bounty, I will tell you that much. Of course, all this could be said of the Surge 1. The system here is cleaner, each limb has a clearer health bar, giving you something to aim for if you'd rather kill them with a chop. But it mostly didn't need to change. The idea of hunting for specific parts gave the first game a distinctive hook. Combat does share a lot of DNA with Dark Souls, that familiar dance of dodges, blocks and stamina management, but working to harvest a specific body part gave it its own flavour. So the good news of this video, they haven't spoiled the best bit of the Surge. Phew! But how about the rest of it? Well, we're going to hack and slash our way through the best and worst bits of the Surge 2 in this video. By we, I mean rock, paper, shotgun. Hello! I forgot to mention that bit, I was so excited by all this business. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, I promise I won't chop that digit from your hand. Now, onwards! A lot of what the Surge 2 does is classic sequel craft. It takes the stuff you like and adds more of it, so that means new weapon types like punching gloves, which are definitely not World Boxing Association approved, or double duty weapons that hit as one heavy object or can split into two smaller parts for a faster follow-up. Even better, the first game's weapon proficiencies are gone, so you can swap styles without taking a hit to damage. And the original's vague elemental damage is replaced with clear damage types that can stack up to poison enemies or set them aflame. Hey, at least the fire distracts from all the face punches. Your drone gets a similar treatment with combat modules that add heavier firepower or an excellent electric stun attack that is actually amplified by timing detonation with the beep of the charge. Shocking doesn't use ammo, making it my personal go-to, but the other modes do eat through Omni cells, making ammunition management more of a concern. Either chop off gun arms or start equipping your exo rig for ammo bonuses, more on that in a second. It means the drone is quite flimsy for the first 10 hours or so, but it does earn its keep with the ability to shoot off limbs from afar, although there is something quite sinister about a man quietly watching another man get his leg amputated by a robot. I'm also glad to see more novelty headwear this time around. A cool cowboy hat isn't going to stop an axe to the head, but it makes the action replays more exciting to watch. Oh, and if you pop in the options, you can control the regularity you watch this slow-mo for those who are as addicted to it as I am. A more substantial change is the addition of the directional parry. Enemies attack from left, right, above and below, giving you the chance to counter and stagger them for a hugely powerful follow-up smash. For most enemies it spells their doom, and it's key to breaking certain bosses' defences and eating through their mammoth health bars. As parries go, it's tasty, with tiny little directional stick flicks or mouse jabs, resulting in a big satisfying clang. It's the perfect blend of big risk and even bigger payoff. What's really interesting to me is how Deck 13 let you install a chip in the first hour of the game that flashes directional indicators up on screen. With the module installed, you still have to time that precise parry, spamming it will drain stamina, but having that visual cue does make it easier to interpret the combat. If you would rather read those attacks yourself, you can ignore the module, or maybe just install it if you fancy training against a new enemy type. It's a great take on difficulty adjustment as it doesn't alter the base game, but it does allow people to tune it to their ability. Given the uproar earlier in the year about Sekiro's difficulty and whether adding an easy mode would undermine the designer's intentions, this is an elegant solution to the question. And it's not the only one. There's another module that will aim your attacks at targeted limbs, so you don't have to worry about horizontal or vertical swipes. The idea of removing burdens in the game, rather than altering the whole game, feels very smart to me. Even if you aren't looking to soften the difficulty, the way you build your character out is still very satisfying. At the heart of it is the option to upgrade health, stamina or battery power. That last one is the energy you build by landing hits, which is then used to power things like health injections or finishing moves. Just this decision is a fun balancing act as you build a glass cannon who can dole out endless hits but dies with a flick to the face, or a tech monster who sacrifices dexterity and vitality for the option to supercharge boosters and buffs. Where it gets more interesting is in the selection of modules, which range from elemental buffs to drone ammo regeneration to chips that prevent battery energy from draining or increases tech scrap drops. That's the currency of the world. The way these perks can fill in gaps in your health, stamina, battery build or further punch up one's stat is really chewy stuff. Normally with games I find a build that works for me and just sit there comfortably until the end credits, but The Surge 2 is a rare time I found myself re-speccing for boss encounters or just endless grinding sessions. On top of this, you have the gear you equip into your exo rig. One of the big changes here is the introduction of partial set bonuses, giving you a boost when you wear 3 pieces of a 6-piece outfit. It allows you to mix 3 from one and 3 from another, creating all kinds of weird power combos. Okay, it doesn't allow for the variety of builds you might get from, say, a Diablo or Borderlands skill tree, but it's enough variety to keep you experimenting for the length of its 30-hour story. All this lends itself to fun min-maxing as people shed armour and modules and try to take people on in a blazer and chinos with a flimsy tomahawk they found in a shop window. And more power to them. And this time there is a sense of what other people are up to, as you can hide small holographic models of your avatar in the world which appear in other online games for players to find. If people don't find it, you get a lump of tech scrap. If you find other people's, that reward is yours. Already in this review I've found some fun hiding spaces. Big shout out to whoever smashed a box, put their hologram inside, and then allowed the crate to respawn around it. That was genius. I'm less sure about the new graffiti system, which is a lot like Dark Souls messages. Maybe it was a quirk of the review build, but my world was covered in graffiti from the start, often pointing out secret hiding holes and item locations. If this is how coated the game is with only a handful of games journalists playing it, I dread to think how it'll look once an entire nation of Banksies get their hands on it. Still, you can always opt to play offline, but it would be a shame to miss out on the holographic hide and seek. Perhaps the graffiti jumps out because the world is so packed with secrets. The biggest leap from the Surge 1 to 2 is the variety of the setting, swapping the Creo industrial estate for Jericho City, complete with wide open streets, a lush national park that is under attack from evil nanobots, and docklands full of insane tech evangelists. Think the Apple Store workers, only they use the Genius Bar to build gun turrets. Each area has its own enemies, giving you new attack rhythms to learn and a reason to equip new weapons and gear. Just as a visual thing, this is way more exciting than just another warehouse. But what really stands out is how knotty each area is. I don't think I've seen this many shortcuts in a game, to the point that it becomes almost ridiculous how each area loops back to the central hub, which is where you tend to find the medbay machine, which acts like your typical Dark Souls bonfire. At times it feels like you can't move 100 meters without finding another route back to where you just were. Now, on one hand, I love the sense of discovery of seeing how each street links to the next, but it can can make some maps confusing. It's quite hard to remember this many shortcuts, and some of them are of questionable usefulness. It also means that for all their physical differences, levels can feel samey. I mean, they're all just endless warrens of conjoining material. I think the game is more successful when it leans into Metroidvania elements, such as discovering a shock drone to buzz open magnetic locks, or finally finding a way to navigate the zip lines that hang over many of the districts. These feel like shortcuts or hidden areas with more purpose. You spot them early on, register your interest, and anticipate finally having the toy to conquer them. Compare that to the endless gates and magnetic lifts that take you nowhere that important, and the difference is clear. That probably sounds more like a gripe than I meant it to be. I'll take busier level design over flat linear progress. I'm a little less sold on the uneven difficulty curve, particularly the leap from the common enemies to the bosses. It's not that the bosses are too hard, although a couple are real bastards that threw me for several hours, but that the other enemies are maybe a tad too predictable, at least once you've spent 20 minutes getting used to them. It's also a very easy game to grind up your equipment and gear. You just find an enemy with higher level equipment near the medbay and farm the parts off them. Some items are massively overpowered. This leveled up spear was my best friend for most of the game, with a higher damage than many items I found in later areas. When I talked with Deck 13 earlier in the year, they saw the ability to level up your favourite gear as a big part of the appeal. You get to bring your favourite toys with you after all. And while I agree with the sentiment, it does make it quite easy to get ahead of the difficulty curve. I'd also have liked to see more enemies like the mechanical statues, where limb chopping doesn't just kill and instead alters their attack patterns. It feels like we get a taste of a more tactical limb removal, and I'd like to see even more of that. I should also flag up a few technical issues. Often the game would stutter when I left the medbay or unpaused the game, as if the game had suddenly been caught napping and was trying to catch up. Weirdly, I didn't see this on our more powerful PC with an RTX 2080, so you'd expect it to cope, but on my normal GTX 1070 Ti, it was a regular occurrence. I also had to turn down the quality settings quite low to get a decent frame rate on that older card. Odd, as I have much prettier games that run better on higher settings. Adds up to a slightly uneven technical experience. Did any of this derail my experience of The Surge 2? No, not really. I'm more impressed seeing Deck 13 take the solid foundations of the first game and pumping them up in smart and pleasing ways. I guess that's quite apt given the upgrade cycle at the heart of the game. It's the same exo rig underneath, but with shinier parts. This was a studio that was once seen as being a poor imitator of From Software. Their Lords of the Fallen is one of the more criticised post-Dark Souls clones, but I think The Surge 1 found something a bit different to say within the genre, and The Surge 2 amplifies that message. It's a sequel with more of what the fans want, and some great ideas to usher newcomers into the game, especially around the subject of difficulty. Of course, my teenage self wouldn't have been interested in any of that. He'd just want to see people get chopped in half with an axe, which you can. The Surge 2 ticks many boxes. And hopefully this video has ticked your boxes. If you are left with any questions about The Surge 2, just pop them in the comments and I will do my best to answer them. And while you're here, why not watch some of our other recent reviews? We've looked at Borderlands 3, Gears 5, and much more. I'd obviously love it if you subscribed. We cover anything and everything PC gaming related. So thanks for watching Rock Paper Shotgun, and we'll hopefully see you again soon. Bye for now.